Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So we are going to be giving you guys, I am going to be giving you guys a World War III Iran war update. We're going to be talking about US boots on the ground in Iran. I'm going to give you my analysis on how likely I feel that is. And also, I'm going to be giving you guys an update on what we know so far about the knife attack in Edinburgh. However, before we get onto this, I know some of you people may or may not have the short mind span. Get your shit in order by 1800 tomorrow. So I've been saying this for a while, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, get everything you need to do. Make sure it's done and dusted by 1800 tomorrow, as early as possible before that date. Before that time. Just literally, like I would say, you are safe until midday. Every hour after midday becomes less safe. And if you're out after 6 o'clock tomorrow, then just you're kind of at your own risk. All right. That is your own risk. All right. So I will keep repeating that through the live stream. Please, ladies and gentlemen, okay, just get your shit in order, get your house in order, get whatever food, water, provisions you need. Stay in the house. Don't go out the house. Keep your doors locked. Yes, keep your doors locked because we know what happened today in Edinburgh. All right. Keep your doors locked. Aim for that timing. If you don't think you can make that timing and you think you need to go out after 1800, 6 o'clock, don't do it. All right. That's what I'm saying. All right. Of course, you guys you're grown adults. You can take my advice, or you can think, oh, what does Sean know? What does Sean know? But what I'm saying right now is I believe the likelihood of attacks tomorrow night in the United Kingdom, it goes up exponentially. The reason I'm saying that is the earliest, basically. That is the earliest I feel an attack can be planned and executed. And I'm talking about sleeper cells here. So if you think about these Iranian sleeper cells that we clearly know are operating in the United Kingdom, since 2022, MI5, the British intelligence services, has thwarted more than 20 such attacks on the United Kingdom. So we know those attacks are being planned, and these are Iranian backed. They're the ones that we know about, right? So what I'm saying to you, ladies and gentlemen, you fine people, please tell your friends, please tell your families, and just warn people. Say, listen, it's kind of not, don't really go out tomorrow after 6. After 6 o'clock in the evening, I'd say it's not safe anywhere in the United Kingdom. And of course, if nothing happens, people are going to be at you saying, oh, but yeah, look, we was all... All right, that's all well and good, all right? It's always better to err on the side of caution. Obviously, if you have to go out tomorrow after 6, just be aware that when you're going out tomorrow after 6, you may not be going out into a safe environment. Right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get on to this, because it does look like... more American soldiers are going to Iraq. Wow, that was a long time ago. More American soldiers are going to Iran. So as I'm speaking to you now, guys, the war in Iran is now, everybody's calling it Operation Epic Fury, has entered its... Are we on the 3rd, or I think we're on the 4th day? News from Washington is grim but unflinching. Pentagon briefing this afternoon, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane. Oh, hang on a minute. I'll do that later. That's work stuff. That's work stuff, ladies and gentlemen. That's paid work stuff. Right now, I am here for you guys to let you guys know what's happening in the future. And if you're on and you've not done so already, please hit those buttons down below, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, share. The buttons down below, bell notification, all those things really helps me out. It does, honestly, helps me out massively. So in a briefing earlier on today, the Joint Chief of Staff, General Dan Kane, standing alongside Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. I want to go drinking with Pete Hegseth. I'm just throwing it out there. He's got fantastic hair, and I want to go drinking with him. not just because of his hair. But he delivered a stark update. The United States is deploying more troops and assets to the Middle East to sustain and intensify the campaign. Yeah. So you know what everybody was saying? Oh, Sean, Donald Trump's the peaceful president. He's going to... I'm like, yeah, okay. Absolutely. I remember being on a live stream and all the chat going, Sean, you're wrong. Donald Trump's going to have peace in Ukraine in 24 hours. The Middle East... All right, okay. Let's just see how this pans out. No, I'm not changing my mind. I'm not going with the zeitgeist. I'm not going with mainstream media. I do my own shit. I do my own analysis, and I give you guys my own opinion. So additional U.S. troops and assets will be deployed to the Middle East to sustain and intensify the campaign. And America should brace for more losses among service members. Now, this comes just hours after U.S. Central Command confirmed the death toll has risen to 4 U.S. service members killed in action. And look, for those people who are saying, oh, but the Iranians, I don't care about those. I don't care about them. I've got friends who are American, good friends who I consider family. I've worked with Americans. I've got, I've got lots of Americans on my, on my phone. I think I'm just going to leave that there. The American military are good people. They are really good people. Culturally, they are identical to British, a little bit more brash. So every death of a US soldier, it's difficult for me because I think of it's clearly difficult for more difficult for their families, because every death, that's a mother, a father, a brother, a sister, a husband or a wife in mourning. And when you've been to these funerals and you've fought these wars in the Middle East, it gives this thing a whole new context. So the fourth fatality was one of 5 troops initially listed as seriously wounded during one of Iran's retaliatory missile and drone barrages over the weekend, likely from strikes in the US bases in the region, potentially Kuwait, although no official words come out about that. Kane expressed his condolences to the families, calling the fallen the absolute best of America. And they are, guys. They absolutely are. Like the British military are the best they're the best. They really are. They are the best. They're the people. The military are the people who accept that in their line of work, they may have to make the ultimate payment in defending and keeping the people back home safe. That's what being in the military is. Now, this is not a signal of, this is not a single overnight operation. Like I said, it wasn't. Remember when everybody on the internet is going like, yeah, this is going to be over in 24 hours. I was like, whoa, hold your horses, tough guy. The amount of assets that have been sent to the Middle East, this ain't going to be over in 24 hours, 48 hours. This is weeks at a minimum. So the guy, Kane, General Dan Kane stressed that this is not a single overnight operation, he stressed, that achieving the objectives, destroying Iran's offensive missile capability, production facilities, Navy, and preventing a nuclear breakout will take time, involve difficult and gritty work. Now, that means boots on the ground, in my opinion, and will come with additional casualties. We expect to take additional losses, he said. And as always, we work to minimize US losses. But this is a major combat operations. And in that context, when you join the military, you understand that that is an occupational hazard. Now, context matters here, because Operation Epic Fury kicked off early Saturday morning with massive synchronized US-Israeli airstrikes, hundreds of aircrafts from aircraft carriers, from bases, targeting missile sites, air defenses, command centers, leadership compounds, police stations, government buildings, high-ranking officials. It follows the collapse of the nuclear talks, threats from President Donald Trump and Israel's preemptive actions that reportedly killed the supreme leader. The supreme leader is dead, ladies and gentlemen. Do you guys know that there's going to be a visual for the supreme leader in the United Kingdom on, I think, Friday, on the 4th? What are we on? On the 4th. There's going to be a visual for the supreme leader on the 4th. You can't really believe that, can you? That here in the United Kingdom, I'm not right. Let me continue, because otherwise, if I just rant, we're going to be on here forever. Iran retaliated hard, hitting US bases all over the Gulf states, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, spiraling civilian areas like Dubai, Abu Dhabi. The US buildup of thousands of troops, advanced fighters, tankers, munitions had been underway for months. And this is what I keep saying. This is why I said to you guys, like a couple of years ago, I said it's coming. I gave you guys the exact date that it was coming, right? I did. I gave like the exact day. I gave you guys the exact day that this was coming. Because you have to understand, it takes time to get those logistics in place. It gets time to make that rhetoric. It takes time to those ships, right? Doesn't matter how much money you throw at those ships, they can only travel at a certain speed, right? Now, Pete Hegseth, we love Pete Hegseth. We do, guys. We love Pete Hegseth. Pete Hegseth framed this as laser focused. No nation building, no endless war like Iraq or Afghanistan, just decisive action to neutralize threats. And I do believe that Pete Hegseth knows exactly what he's talking about. He's a veteran, you know. He understands the problems when you go into a country and you try and rebuild them. Right, we're going to invade Iraq. We're going to, and then we're going to democratize them. We're going to give these guys democracy. We're going to let them vote every 4 years and choose their own leader. And they're going to have industry and capitalism. The Iraqis weren't ready for that. And they're still not. They don't want that, right? They don't want that. They do not want that. And this is what people don't understand. People think that people are equal and even. They're not. They're not. Now, the problem here is, if you pretend, right, okay, like, where do I go? Where do I even go with this without, right, okay. If you say diversity is our strength, by definition, that means people are different, right? Am I wrong? Am I wrong, guys? Am I wrong? Or is the word diversity, is like the Oxford definition of diversity, something like a various amount of different aspects of a certain element, right? So diversity in culture would be, oh, look how many different cultures we've got in London, how great it is. So if people say diversity is our strength, that means that people are different. Can anyone argue with that point, that people are different? And if we say, and I don't think diversity is our strength at all, but I know some people do, and whatever, put it in the chat. Now, if we are saying that diversity is real, then we have to also acknowledge that people are different. And certain countries in the Middle East just do not want democracy. They don't want democracy. So, where Pete Hegseth's talking about there, he's talking about he doesn't want nation building, which is what the coalition tried to do in Iraq. They tried to go in there, overthrow Saddam, and build Iraq into this prosperous nation. The Iraqis didn't want it. The Iraqis did not want that. No endless wars like Iraq or Afghanistan, just decisive action to neutralize threats. And listen, ladies and gentlemen, that sounds good to me. That sounds very clear, very clinical, very easy to understand. Donald Trump, DJT, has refused to rule out boots on the ground, troops, United States troops on the ground, if needed, and suggested that the campaign could run for weeks. But Kane's briefing was the first major public acknowledgement that this isn't a quick or clean. More forces are flowing into the Middle East and the human cost will rise. That's basically what they've said. In a nutshell, that's what the Americans have said. More forces, more assets are flowing into the Middle East. It's not going to be quick or clean. And the human cost is rising, and it will rise. Now, if you live in the United Kingdom, which we do, we're in a debacle here, right? But don't worry, because guess what? Very soon we are going to have boots on the ground in Ukraine. Right? Listen, I'm gonna jump onto the chat in a second. All right, I'm gonna jump onto the chat in a second, but I'm dying for a wee. Right? I'm dying for a wee. Give me count to 30. I will be back in 30 seconds. I'll be there and I'll be straight back. Give me 30 seconds, guys. I'm going to go for a wee. I'll be like 30 seconds. Thank you for waiting around for me, ladies and gentlemen. Right, let me weigh on to this, guys, okay? Because the news, the Donald Trump, DJT, he's been saying that Donald DJT has been saying that that he does not rule out American boots on the ground in Iran. What I think is going to happen, I think the most likely outcome will be, look, first of all, I don't think there's going to be a mass deployment of US boots on the ground like there was in Iraq. What I do see is a Saudi Arabian-led expeditionary force, and I think this would actually go in first, and a limited US Special Forces operations. So you would have US Special Forces sitting off on the ships. You would have Saudi Arabians going to Iraq, maybe a small US military contingent in there in the safety. But I think in this conflict, the Saudi Arabians are going to provide the meat and vegetables for this conflict. Oh, hang on a minute. Somebody sent a Googleinos is saying the Strait of Hormuz is closed. Iran's Revolutionary Guard says it added that the military will set any ship trying to pass on fire. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We are going one direction right now, and it's south. So look, if you've not done so already, thank you for that, Googleinos. Thank you so much for that, buddy. So if you guys have not done so already, please go and fill up your cars. You're going to go out now. You're going to go now and you're going to think, oh my God, it's so expensive. It's only going to get worse, right? So you can go now and pay X, or you can go later and pay more. Unfortunately, we run on diesel, we run on petrol, we run on hydrocarbons. 20% of the world's oil passes through the Strait of Hormuz. And as Googling us is saying there, it looks like the Strait of Hormuz has just been closed. Silly Gilardi is saying, I believe we have CIA and Mossad already active in Iran. I don't think anybody puts agents anymore. I think they pay people. Okay, so right, let me just backtrack a little bit, guys, because I do want to jump quickly onto the knife attack in Edinburgh. And people in the United Kingdom, across the West, Europe, America as well, need to brace themselves. Okay. The data I'm giving you guys, you need to get your shit in order. Like, listen, ladies and gentlemen, if you're on the chat right now, please get your shit in order by 6 o'clock tomorrow night. That is when I'm saying that is the last perceived. That's when I'm saying the last perceived safe spot is. I really am, guys. I believe that is the last perceived safe spot. Try and get everything done. And I mean, go out tomorrow morning. Do you know what? This is my advice. Take my advice if you want to. It's totally fine. Listen, advice is the one thing that's free and nobody takes, right? If you can, and I know people are in different financial situations, go out tomorrow morning or maybe now and fill your car with petrol or diesel. Get whatever food and supplies you need, because I'm saying, and this is my opinion, speculation, analysis, after 6 o'clock tomorrow, that's it. I think people need to put themselves on lockdown, because that's when I think the craziness is going to start. It may not start. Listen. Oh, Sean, you said it was going to start at 6 o'clock tomorrow. No, that's not what I said. I said tomorrow up until 6 o'clock is when you're safe. After 6 o'clock tomorrow, that's when I think the threat state goes up. Why? Because it takes time to plan these attacks. Nobody's going to be able to plan and execute an attack in, 12 hours, 24 hours, especially the type of attack that you guys are thinking about and I'm talking about. It's just impossible. It's just impossible. All right. So 6 o'clock tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, please have all your affairs in order. Right. Amo Drunk is saying, a good friend of mine referred me to this channel. He said, Sean is very accurate with his predictions. Right. Thank you, Amo Drunk. Armour Drunk. Armour Drunk is saying, okay, thank you, Armour Drunk. And I hope you've hit those buttons down below, the like, comment, subscribe, bell notification. Those bell notifications, guys. We love that bell notification. Right. I'm going to jump over real quick to what's been happening with the knife attack in Edinburgh. Now, before I get onto this knife attack in Edinburgh, the official line has not been nothing from the. There's been no official word about the guy who they arrested. So for those of you guys who don't know, sorry, let me give you context. So for those of you guys who don't know, earlier on this morning, 8:25 in Edinburgh, a man of unknown origin or description, just a man, allegedly tried to get into a nursery. He then went stabby in a shop. And then by some accounts, and I don't know what's credible at this time, guys, but by some accounts, he went into an apartment, a block of flats, and he barricaded himself in a block of flats. Now, you got, like, loads of you guys were sending me a live stream of the girl who was like, this look, You know what I say to you guys? You know what I say? You can't hide anything anymore. You can't hide anything anymore. Literally, we had an attack today in Edinburgh, and there was a girl, right? There was a girl 10 feet away from him in the flat above, live streaming, right? You can't hide anything anymore. Nothing can be hidden. Now, some of the people on that chat, and this has not been confirmed. This has not been confirmed, but some of the people on that chat, excuse me, were saying that he had hostages. Now, I don't know if that's the case. I'm not convinced that was the case. However, what this shows is the saturation point in the United Kingdom. England, Northern Ireland, Scotland, Wales. Where now we have people who just on a random Monday morning with 2 knives try to get into a nursery school. Can you imagine the difference in headline this morning? Can you guys imagine the difference in headline this morning? It's like, I don't even want to think about it. However, that is where we are, ladies and gentlemen, right now. That is where we are in the United Kingdom. We have reached that saturation point, and there's no off-ramp. There is no off-ramp. What do I mean by that? If you think that Shabina Mahmood is going to sign, is going to write, if you think Shabina Mahmood is going to write a law, some legislation that's so brilliantly written, it stops all this. Does anybody think that's happening? I don't think that's happening at all. I don't think that's going to happen at all. So let me give you guys a quick update. So a man has been arrested after Edinburgh stabbing incident, which saw the tower block, a tower block under siege. A man has been arrested. Police Scotland confirm they have arrested a man after reports of someone with a bladed weapon in Calder. Do you know what? I'm going to Google that in a second, and I'm going to put that on. I'm going to see what I can find from the actual Police Scotland website. The incident led to a tower block in the area, Cobinshaw House. And for those of you guys who was on the live stream earlier, I found an infographic of this and the proximity between the nursery and the Cobinshaw, what was it called? Cobinshaw House, I think. Nearby schools and nurseries were placed on lockdown. 2 people were injured. A man who was stabbed and suffered non-life-threatening injuries, and a woman with lacerations to the head, which was not believed to have caused by a bladed weapon. What do we think that is? Do we think that's a bottle? Do we think that's a bottle? How does that even work? Now, you say that this is like, you know, I've dealt with people. Where do I go with this? I've dealt with people who've got massive post-traumatic stress. Where do I go? I want to tell you something now, but I don't know if it'll get the video banned. Should I say this Should I say this? So I dealt with a man, right? When I used to work in Ukraine, when I used to work for the government in Ukraine, I dealt with a man, and he'd been captured by the Russians, right? And he was telling me, right? I'm going to give you guys visualizations. I'm going to tell you guys, right? I'm going to visualize this, right? He was telling me what the Russians did to him when they captured him and the things they took away from him in the order they took away from him. And he's a shell of a man now. absolute ghost, massive mental health problems, as you can imagine, going through that trauma. So when the government come out and say, don't worry, everyone, it was only lacerations to the head with a knife, it's non-life threatening. Every knife attack will change that person's life, ladies and gentlemen. So I think we need to stop going down. Listen, this is not me being touchy-feely. Definitely not me being touchy-feely. I think we need to stop going down that road of, oh, it's non-life threatening. Trust me, every knife attack changes that person's life. The Chief Inspector, Scott Kennedy, said, I'd like to thank the public for their assistance and patience while we dealt with the incident. I understand what happened was alarming for the local community, and I want to reassure the public there is no ongoing wider risk. However, if you do have concerns, call 101. Now, I've seen, and I don't know if this is true or not, I've seen that this is the alleged attacker was allegedly, reportedly, for entertainment purposes, was of Somali origin. Now, I've also seen an article where there was a Somalian who went stabby, and he couldn't get deported because of his human rights, so they can't send him back to Somalia because, you know, it's not a very nice place, Somalia. Can you see how far we've gone? Can you see how far we've gone? Right, let me jump onto the chat, ladies. In fact, do you know what? Let me look at Scotland Police. Give me a second. Right, I'm looking at Scotland. All right, let me find Scotland Police. Let me try and find Scotland Police. Right, let me try and find press releases for Scotland. Right, I'm on the Scotland release. I'm on the Scotland Police website. What's happening? Maybe that's it. News. Right, I've got this. News. I got this, guys. Don't worry. Yeah, got it. Right, so I'm going to share this now off the Scotland Police website, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys want an update, I will give you the update straight from the horse's mouth from the knife attack today in Scotland, where a man tried to gain entry to a nursery. Yeah, I've said that, guys. A man tried to gain entry to a nursery. Can you imagine the headline that we will be waking up to, that I will be talking about now? I don't even know if I'd be able to talk about it. I'd probably have to have the night off. So, right, so here's the headline, guys, okay? Man arrested following disturbance in the Calder area. Okay, so the incident is not being treated as terror-related. 2 people were injured and taken to the Royal Infirmary. A man suffered injuries consistent with being stabbed. A woman suffered a laceration to the head, not believed to be caused by a bladed weapon. I'm going to assume that's a bottle. Inquiries are ongoing. Yeah, nothing really. Absolutely nothing. It's interesting how look, guys, I don't know if this is right or wrong, but some police incidents, they come out and they say, it's a white man, it's a white man. A white man walked into a mosque. No, that's not a joke. That's not the beginning of a joke. So it's just really interesting to me how in some incidents, they instantly release the ethnicity of the potential assailant. And in some, excuse me, and in some they don't. So it's just interesting to me. Right, listen, before I jump onto the chat, I need a favor from you guys. Can you do me something? And it is really important. This is really important, all right? I know, I'm not joking. I'm not joking. I'm not going to ask you to hit the buttons down below, although you should do that. I'm going to share a video with you guys. Now, this video is being shared by, I thought this was somewhere in Saudi Arabia, right? Now, this video has been shared online, and they're saying that this is Birmingham Council Chamber. And they're saying that Muslim councillors turned the place into a brawl because someone was eating during Ramadan, right? And let me be clear, I'm genuinely not passing judgment. I just want to know, like, do any of you guys know if this video is legitimate or not? Can you guys please help me? Because I don't know if this video is legitimate. I thought it was fake, but there's been that many people sharing it. It might be real. I thought this was like Saudi Arabia or somewhere, but like there's loads of people sharing this video now saying this is Birmingham. I'll be honest with you guys, I don't know. And it's obviously whatever. But I'm asking you guys, is this really Birmingham? He threw a plastic table at him. Powerful. Right, so listen, I'll be honest, I don't know if that's Birmingham. I don't know if everybody's sharing it and it's fake. I genuinely don't know. So I'm just asking a straight up question. Can anyone confirm if that is or is not Birmingham, or if that's like Saudi Arabia or, I don't know, Bengal or somewhere? Because I genuinely don't know. I don't know. I have no idea. And I'm not trying to be like, facetious or anything. I just genuinely don't know if that is Birmingham. I mean, there's no signs saying it is Birmingham. There's no signs in English. So, the architecture, I don't know. I just don't know. That's what I'm saying. Right. Let me jump onto the chat, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. Make sure that everybody has got their swizzles in order. No, that's not Birmingham Council Chamber. In my opinion, I've been in it a few times. Right. Okay. Thank you, Andrew Rubin. Thank you, Andrew Rubin. I don't know. And I'm not being like, I'm just trying to like cut through the fake media and the fake news, because there's so much stuff being shared and this is over there and this is there. And I don't know. I don't know. I didn't know whether that was Birmingham. Googleinos is saying Iranian commander vows to bomb Cyprus to force US aircraft to leave. It's not going to end well. It's not going to end well, ladies and gentlemen. It's not. We are definitely looking at escalations. We are, the United States have actually said they're sending more manpower and more equipment down there because they're going to intensify this conflict. Naval bases on lockdown as intruders arrive by boat. What? Where's that, Googleinos? Where's that? Where is that, Googleinos? And old school Pete. We love old school Pete. He's the we love all Pete's. We do. We love all Pete's. Pete Hegseth, Pete Griffin, and old school Pete. I think old school Pete is the best Pete. Not sure about what that kerfuffle, but if right, okay. Some of these questions, guys, I need to read them before. A U.S. naval base in Florida has reportedly been placed on lockdown after an intrude. Right, okay. Let me try and find out what this is. There's only me that could spell lockdown wrong. Right, so US naval base on lockdown after reports of a intruder arriving on a boat. A US naval base in Florida. So just so you guys know, in Florida they have the European Central Command. That's in what town's that in? That's in oh god. Is it in Sebastian? Anyway, US Central Command for Europe. That is in Florida. The only reason I'm saying that is because I've got a little bit of experience working there. A U.S. naval base in Florida, the Naval Air Station Pensacola, went onto lockdown after an intruder reportedly arrived by boat. Today, the base, known for housing the Navy's Blue Angels, which are their aerobatics display team, their aviation display team, closed its gates to the public after a man beached his vessel nearby and ran onto the base. I mean, this is just one man, so fair play to him. You know, the incident prompted immediate security measures to ensure the safety of the personnel in the facility. Details about the intruder's identity or motives have not been disclosed. So I think the situation is over. However, this lockdown does come clearly after the fears of potential terror attacks in the United States. And we've seen, obviously, so there's a lot of fog and confusion. You know, when there's an attack and you're like, that's clearly a terrorist. Look at him. He's shouting Allahu Akbar. He's got the, you know, the vest on. It's not the Nike vest and it's not the Adidas vest, but you only wear it once. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? You know, where, you know, you see this guy, he's shouting Allahu Akbar and he's got the vest on and you're like, he's blatantly a terrorist. And the police come out and they say, it's not a terrorist incident. These things are, you know, these things have legal definitions, right? And the definition of a terrorist is somebody that you, and for it to be a terrorist, you need to be able to identify that chain back to a political, religious, racial, ideological movement. Otherwise, that is literally not terrorism, and it really isn't. But for people who are sat there and said, oh, it's terrorism, oh, the police are so weak, they're not. It's just like you kind of can't change the definitions of things. Doesn't make it any less terrifying, doesn't make it any less deadly. However, you know, to be able to identify that as a terrorist, you have to be able to identify that chain. Which, if you guys think about what happened today in Edinburgh, that was very quickly discarded as a terror attack. Kenzie McClelland is saying Strait of Hormuz has been closed by Iran. Yes, that's what we're getting, guys. The Strait of Hormuz has been closed by Iran. So, you know what? Let me get this up on the mainstream. Give me a second. Give me a second. Okay, so right, I've got quite a few. Articles here. The Strait of Hormuz is essentially a parking lot, says RBC Capital Markets. Forget OPEC output hike. Duration of the Hormuz disruption is what matters. Oil and gas prices jump as conflict escalates. And right now, so this was 3 hours ago, from The Guardian. Maritime insurers cancel war risk cover as Iran conflict disrupts shipping. So what did I say? Okay, look, listen, you guys who've been following the channel, right? You guys that have been following the channel for a while, this is where I said it would happen. Oh, but Sean, we want guns and tanks and bombs and explosions. Well, yeah, I know you want that, but this is what you're going to get, right? This is what you're going to get. Maritime insurers have cancelled their insurance, right? So, like maybe a year ago, I said to you guys, and there were people in the chat saying, Sean, the United States is going to send a strike carrier group down there. It will stay open. I'm like, no. You guys don't understand how things work, right? You know, clearly people don't understand how things work. These big shipping containers, they've got a shit ton of oil in, right? They need insurance. They do. They absolutely. No pilot, is it a pilot? Captain, sorry. No captain of a ship is going to sail a ship without insurance. Not a chance. Not in a diddly swiddly. Sorry, maybe the captain would. No owner of that ship is going to risk it. Not a chance. Not with that cargo. It's not worth it. It's not worth it, guys. You know, they're not going to do it. So I said this. I said, listen, this is what's going to happen. The insurance companies are going to say, no, you guys are not traveling through the Strait of Hormuz. Not a chance, diddly dance. It's not going to happen. However, let me just caveat this real quick. Russia, China, they both operate black fleets. I don't mean like operated by, you know, maybe they are, I don't know. Dark fleets, shadow fleets. Now, these Russian and Chinese shadow fleets are oil tankers that do not adhere to international shipping rules. Also, the Russians and the Chinese are, do you know what? I'm not even, the Chinese will, but probably not in the scale as the Russians do. The Russians operate these things in such a scale and in, at an industrial level. I would say the Russians are still going to be shipping the oil out of there. I would say the Russians right now are the only game in town. Sorry, I would say right now the Russians are the only game in town to get your oil out. But this is big money, guys. This is really big money now. This is big boy stuff. Armour Drink, what? Don't tell me he's gone. Who's gone? Who's gone where? Hang on, let me find Armour Drink. Who's gone where? Who's gone where? I don't know what's happening here. Rod Panhard is saying Lloyd's of London cancels insurance. Everyone is in the shadow fleet now. I am your captain now. I am your captain now. Yeah. All comes from insurance, guys. It really does. It all comes from insurance. Right, let me jump down. Googlinos is saying reports suggest the Gulf states running out of interceptor missiles. Yes, that was always going to be the case, ladies and gentlemen. That was always going to be the case, the pace, and the tactics. The Iranian, okay, look, it's not sustainable to fire a 200 grand interceptor at a 30 grand drone. How many times have I said this, ladies and gentlemen? How many times have I been on this live stream and said, yeah, they're fucked? How many times have I said that the Iranians will take lessons learned from the war in Ukraine by the Russians? And the Russians will say, yes, use all your cheap shit to fire at big cities. Let them deplete missile supply. Then you hit them with caviar. What do you mean caviar? I mean big fucking rocket that they cannot intercept anymore. Let's get Sean as the Minister of Defense. Listen, guys, okay, I don't want to... Listen, I tell you guys what's coming. June last year. Should I find this? Give me a second. Let me get my work thing up. Give me a second. I'll read this to you. Where did I do that? Is it that it? You know, maybe it's, give me a second. Maybe it's on my desktop. Right, give me a second. I'm going to read you a letter I sent to the Minister of Defence. If I can find it. I can't find it. Blinska Chuvika. Is that it? No, that's not it. Right, I can't find it. No, I can't find it. Right. Basically, in June, I sent a letter to the Ministry of Defence. And I said, look, it's not... I worded it, you know, a little bit better than this. I said, look, it's not feasible that you are sending, you know, spending these little quadcopters, these things. You know, you're spending 50, 100 grand on these things and you're sending them up to intercept these drones. It's not sustainable. The parts, the technology, the circuit boards, you can't do it at the scale that's coming. And the scale that we are heading towards is a global conflict on an industrial scale. And the only thing that's going to matter is who can produce most and get that out to the front line. So just think about it right now. Western technology, it's the best. It's the most sophisticated. We've, you know, our circuit boards, they're sent to Japan and the Japanese solder them together with their best technicians. And then they're sent to Sweden and Sweden put this coating, this special lacquer that hardens them to ECM, electromagnetic countermeasures. And then those circuit boards then are sent to Germany and the Germans put them in a little carbon fiber case. And then the Germans send them to the French and then the French rub cheese on it. And then they send them to Britain and then we assemble all these parts. It's not feasible. It's not feasible anymore. And we are seeing this in real time, guys. We are seeing this in real time. Googleinos is saying Iran says Iran says it will not let a single drop of oil leave the region. I think they will to their allies, right? You know, it makes no sense to not let the Russians have oil or let the Russians take that oil or let the Russians send that oil to China. Remember, we are in like day 4. Are we in day 4 or 3? I can't remember. The 28th. Yeah, sorry, we're in day 3, I guess. Depending on your time zone. So this is going to be a long slog. This ain't going to be over. You know all those people, all those influencers in Dubai? Yeah, it's going to be over in 24 hours. Yeah, it's not going to be over in 24 hours, guys. Listen, and if you are in Dubai right now, my advice to you, you might want to snippet this bit. My advice to you, if you're in Dubai, is drive to Salalah in Oman and fly out from Salalah. That's what my advice is. It's going to be a slog. You're probably not going to want to do it. But if you do it now, you're going to be there quicker, right? Because I don't think the airport's going to open up anytime soon in Dubai. Remember, it's all about insurance, right? It's all about insurance. So remember what we just said about the oil tankers. You know, look, everybody wants tanks and guns and all this sort of stuff. And yes, I know all that stuff. I also know the commercial side that backs that up, right? And this is the problem. This is the problem with defense. You have colonels and generals and these military leaders. They don't know nothing about the commercial side. They don't know nothing about the geopolitical side. They don't know nothing about history because they're a colonel, they're a general, they're a politician. So the problem is you've got all these people. It's like it's a cockfest. It's a cockfest. I can remember when I used to do this, when I used to do analytics, government analytics, and I would tell people what's coming in about 30 seconds. They would say, "Oh, right, what's the likely outcome of this?" I would tell them within 30 seconds. Tell them. And then I'd want to talk about aliens and, alternate dimensions and stuff. But people don't want a quick answer. They want a long, drawn-out, expensive answer because they feel that is better. They do. They feel it is better. Clarendon is saying, like being in a primary school, living in England these days. Listen, I know the primary schools in the United Kingdom right now are under huge. If you've got a child right now and you're sending them to, and this is how sick people are in the United Kingdom right now, and I mean sick as in deep-seated problems, right? These bad guys, they don't want to attack a comprehensive school, right? You know, when like you've got kids at like 16 years old, like I dread to think somebody attacking my school when all the 50 years would have just run out and it would have been, it wouldn't have ended well for the attacker. So this is how sick people are now in the United Kingdom. They are looking to attack primary schools. You know where kids are like 6 and 7? It's fucking sick. It's disgusting. At some point, one of these monsters is going to slip through the net. It was so close to happening today in the United Kingdom. One of these people are going to slip through the net. Right, guys, there's so many comments. Listen, guys, I'm just jumping to the bottom. I do apologize. I can't get everybody's comment. Jay is saying, bum plugs at the ready. We are all being fuddly-duddled. We are, guys. We're all being fuddly-duddled. Absolutely. And it's painful to watch. It really is painful to watch, guys. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, if you're on and you're joining for the first time and you've not done so already, please make sure you hit the buttons down below. Right, and please report this. Please share this message with your friends, all right? They're probably not going to listen to you, all right? Tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, that is your cutoff. You don't want to be going out tomorrow after 6 o'clock. And after 6 o'clock tomorrow, you want to minimize all your, all your movements, right? Absolutely. You need to minimize your movements. I think people will be relatively safe tomorrow up until midday, 12 o'clock. Every hour that goes on after 12 o'clock tomorrow increases in threat. Every hour that goes on tomorrow increases in threat. I'm not saying something's going to happen in the United Kingdom tomorrow. What I'm saying is tomorrow at 5:59 is your last safe moment, right? So if you need to go out and fill the car up, absolutely go and do that. Get food, get water. Maybe it's time to get the big shop. Because and the reason I'm saying that and the reason I'm giving that time frame, the reason I'm giving that time frame is because that's how long it takes to plan and execute something. It's not going to happen quick. So let's just say, for example, like it did, US strikes went into Iran on the 28th, right? US strikes went into Iran on the 28th. Later on the 28th, maybe evening, 28th on the evening, they said, right, sleeper cells, activate. Those jobs that you've been planning for, yeah, activate them now, right? That's going to take them time to go to the supermarket, say goodbye to the friends and family, say goodbye to their loved ones, because they do clearly have loved ones. Prepare for whatever that act is. So I think that we are relatively safe up until tomorrow at 6 o'clock at night. After 6 o'clock at night, ladies and gentlemen, like, you're on your own. Like, I am not, like, I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe nothing will happen. But what I'm saying is that is the earliest point I feel that a strike could happen here in the United Kingdom. Lisa Jane is saying Reuters 24 minutes ago, about 10% of the container ships global fleet is caught. Yes! Yes! I was telling you this was coming. Container ships run on diesel, right? They all run on diesel. They all run on diesel, guys. Oil prices surge and stocks waver as investor assets assess the conflict. Right. Let me just real quickly throw this out there. Does anyone think that somebody made a shit ton of money on Monday morning, this morning when the stock market opened? Do you see why I say now? You know when I say things happen normally on a Friday when the stock market's closed. Now, depending where you are in the world and the outcome of that event, the global event, is obviously going to depend where your stock market is. So it might be Saturday in one country and Friday in another, because obviously, it's not the same time in every country. Now, in this particular conflict, if you're in the United States and you know that, right, if you're in the United States and you knew these airstrikes were coming and you knew that the Strait of Hormuz was going to be closed, do you think people could, bet on the stock market and make a shit ton of money? I would say they could, and I would say they did. Right, I'm jumping down to the bottom again. Israeli US airstrikes targeted the parliament building in Tehran. IDF evacuation order for many villages. Yeah, so the Israeli Defense Force have sent a... Sorry, I forgot this. The Israeli military have sent a message to the people of Lebanon in the southern villages to evacuate. So if they're telling the civilians to get out, then I think you guys know what's coming. Googleinos is saying Egypt raises military readiness as LCC warns of a widening war. Does anybody look? Do you know what's going to be really fucking bonkers? What's going to be really crazy? I don't know when this is going to happen. I'll have to give this more thought to think when this is going to happen. It's going to happen this year. What's going to be really wild is when the Ukraine conflict kicks off again and the Russians are pushing through, making it up to the Dnipro, and Britain, France, Germany, Poland all have to deploy boots on the ground. And then people will be saying, yeah, it's just a bit of trouble. It always happens. Guys, we are living in living in wild times. The sort of stuff that is happening right now is not normal stuff. Jack Nickley saying the banks and the military industrial complex are going kerching. Yes, they are. Sadly, that's the case. And listen, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to start to close this down now, but I've not said this. I've not said this yet, this live stream. I try and say this every live stream, right? I don't want any humans to unalive any other humans. I don't. I think that humans should stop all wars. I think all wars are pointless. I think humans should stop building guns and bombs and tanks and trains and planes automobiles, ammunition, 5.56, 5.45, 7.62, 12.7 millimeter ammunition. And they should build spaceships, go into space and explore the cosmos. That's what I think humanity should do. I hope that after this round of war is over, because it's going to be a fucking big one, after this round of war is over, I hope we can start human exploration like we're born to do. I really do. Band again, he's saying, I want my car, you get the bus if you want. Eh? I don't know what that means. I want my car, you get the bus if you want. I don't know what that means. Is Leviathan all the people of the world? I don't. Cindy Archer, Cindy Archer just says, I don't. Am I missing the context here? So I think in the context of what we've been talking about today, Leviathan is a gas company in Israel. I'm pretty sure that Leviathan's an Israeli gas company. I don't know what context that is, Cindy, but no, I don't think that is. Googling us is saying Iran-backed militias in Iraq are responsible for the drone attacks on Erbil, Kuwait, and Aramco in Saudi Arabia. So the Aramco gas oil separation plant in Saudi Arabia, that is the biggest one in the world, guys. It's absolutely huge. A lot of oil gets processed there. Remember, we are seeing these strikes on the gas oil industry, and this is going to affect everyone at the pump. Right. Okay. Right. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to close this down now. I'll be back on tomorrow morning and I will be giving you guys more updates, right? The more I look at the mainstream media and the more I look at people who are running this country, they don't have a clue what they're talking about. They have no idea what they're talking about. They have no context. They have no grip on reality. And the more I look at the people who are running the United Kingdom, I'm looking at them when they get asked questions, and I think, wow, you really should know that. When I look at people on the media, they don't know what they're talking about, guys. All right. I'm a subject matter expert in this, in this field, in this sphere. I know exactly what I'm talking about. So make sure that you guys are on tomorrow morning at 10. Tomorrow morning at 10, and I will give you guys another update on what's been happening. Look, before I go, please let me say this one more time, all right? Googling us is saying there that approximately 300 vessels are anchored outside the Strait of Hormuz, okay? So let me just say this again, all right? I've said this maybe 4 times in this live stream. Tomorrow it's going to be too late. Get your things in order and make sure everything's in order for 6 o'clock tomorrow night. Make sure you do the majority, if you can, before 12 o'clock, because every hour after 12 o'clock is going to become more dangerous. But I would say that the earliest an attack, an asymmetric, a sabotage, a sleeper cell attack, the earliest that can happen is tomorrow night. So I'm just putting it out there, guys. I'm literally putting that out there for everyone, all right? Tell your friends, tell your family. They probably won't listen, but at least you've told them. On that bombshell, ladies and gentlemen, I bid you good night. I'll see you in the morning. Don't be late, 10 o'clock.